Welcome to Leading Recovery, a new podcast about the discussion of treatment ethics with treatment professionals. Today, our guest for episode 0 is Gus McDonald. Welcome, Gus. So, Gus, I feel like I can answer this question for myself, but why don't you tell the viewers what this podcast is all about? Well, I'm glad you asked, Gus, and I know that you and I have a pretty equal understanding of what's going on here, but the purpose of this podcast is to start a discussion on treatment professionalism and treatment ethics. There are various roles, positions, types of treatment centers, types of programs that people can work for and that people can participate in. And I want to sit down with some of my own mentors, some people that I'm getting interested in learning about and working with in the industry, learn about what makes them passionate within the treatment field. So after learning about the history of the guests that I get to sit down with, the experiences that they've been through and what has shaped their professionalism in treatment, then I shift gears into the primary purpose of this podcast, which is an open discussion on treatment ethics. I think it's something that's not discussed often enough. The people that I meet who thrive and really build something special in the treatment industry have their own set of personal ethics and morals that they bring into their professionalism. I think the two kind of go hand in hand. We hear often horror stories of what goes on. Patient brokering, overbilling of insurance, poor client care. But with the people that I've surrounded myself with and the people that I want to sit down with on this podcast, I don't see that. I see wholesome, good-natured people whose motivation for working in this industry is to help those suffering from alcoholism and addiction. So the question that I ask everybody is, how is it our responsibility as principled and ethical treatment providers to flip the script a little bit, to change the nature of the press that the treatment industry is given, and really move forward to provide the best possible care for every client that we come in contact with? Gus, why are we interviewing ourselves? Well, I wanted to have a little bit of fun with it. I think it's important to not take yourself too seriously, to enjoy the simple things, make jokes, so I wanted to carry that into this because it is a very serious discussion, and I wanted to have kind of a flip side. But also, an analogy can be made that it's turning the mirror on myself. I'm fortunate enough to sit down with treatment professionals who, in a lot of ways, are going to influence me as I continue on in the trajectory of my own career, who are going to influence me as I seek for guidance, as I look for help in making difficult decisions. And that's what I hope people will get out of this. Other reps, other admissions coordinators, clinicians will begin to ask themselves some of these tough questions that really fall back onto, am I providing the best possible care for the client that's right in front of me? Tell me, Gus, what type of guests will you be sitting down with for Leading Recovery? So I am going to sit down with influential treatment professionals kind of from the full gamut of the industry. One of the first people that I got the pleasure of interviewing was a man named James Sweezy, who's a business development representative for a facility in Florida, but kind of works the whole Southeast. I've gotten to sit down with a clinician in Nashville who specializes in substance abuse counseling. I've gotten to sit down with a few Journey Care employees and kind of get an idea of how has their career trajectory created their own personal ethical system, and how does that carry over into working with their teams and the broader scope of the company. So really what I'm looking for is the opportunity to sit down with, one, opinionated people, because I think that is going to stimulate the discussion the most. But two, people who have experience working in the industry on various levels, business side, clinical side, whatever it may be, that can provide some insight into what can go wrong and how to fix it. And who is the intended audience? What viewer are you trying to reach? I think the target audience is, of course, anyone that wants to listen, but first and foremost, I want it to be young treatment professionals that are interested in growing this community and providing the help that millions are so desperately looking for. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, I think, that's not apparent to the person who first begins to wonder what is a treatment center. And this podcast is going to delve into a lot of that, you know.
It's been a real pleasure, Gus. It's been nice to have such a handsome guest. Thank you, Gus. It is eerie. I feel like I've been talking with myself this whole time.
Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Please be sure to check out episode 1 with James Sweezy next week, where we'll be discussing treatment ethics, treatment professionalism, and how to operate within the behavioral health care network.